Hi, I'm John Bonnick, Director of the Kingdom Business Association. Normally we'd call this the John and Jason Show, but because Greg Fisher is sitting with me, we're just going to call this Moments of Truth with John and Greg. Greg Fisher is an assistant here, helps us at KBA. Many of you have seen his name on some of the mailings or some of the emails that you've asked about, and he's maybe responded. So Greg has been a big part of us this entire year. And we were at lunch together just talking.
Yes.
And tell us what we're talking about.
Well, I'm a second-year student, and I'm graduating in less than a month. And, of course, a lot of different issues are coming up. There's family dynamics, my wife and daughter. Where are we going to live? What am I going to do? Finances. What's God's heart for me? Where do I end up? And there's just a lot of different things swirling around right now. And so from that, you had some really great advice, and we thought it'd be really neat to share it with some of the people.
Okay, and it applies to business as well as other things. And I think the advice just came from friends talking together, but I believe this can be a real specific word for some of you. When Greg and I were talking, we were talking about how do you make a decision with when your wife is involved and maybe when your children are involved. Are they all supposed to agree? So we went around on that a little and talked about that. One of the suggestions I had was that what my wife and I did was throughout our 2 years of marriage, we've always committed to getting away together alone. When we had our one child, my wife had almost died in childbirth or before childbirth and had several miscarriages, and so we had one child. And people would say, well, that was our miracle baby, and he was. However, after the cesarean section had healed, my wife and I gave that child to a friend of ours so she and I could go away and continually renew our relationship. And so throughout our marriage, what we wanted to do is stay united as husband and wife. And so we've regularly taken escapes, dates, weekends throughout our marriage to keep us together. And I was talking about that with Greg and Sean as they're making these big decisions for their next step. Make sure that you two as spouses are united.
And then you were also sharing how it's a cobweb clearing time where
Yeah.
sometimes all the confusion can cause these feelings of, what am I supposed to do? And it also applies to our relationship with God, being able to get away and spend time concentrated in an environment where you can be either with other Christians who can help you or time alone, something away from what's normal, just to get you thinking in a different direction.
Yeah, I said when we lived in California, we lived in the Sacramento Valley. And in the winter, fog sets in, sometimes for 30, 45, 60 days. Any of you in the Sacramento or San Joaquin valleys in California can probably relate to that. And my wife and I would get in the car, we'd drive up to Lake Tahoe, and you'd get above 3,000 feet, and all of a sudden, the sun would be out, and life would be different. And we'd be up there for a couple days, and come back, and we could tolerate the fog. And the fog very often is just those circumstances in life. And it can be your business. You just are focused so much on business, and it just seems like you're in a fog in business, and you're just so trapped in business. Sometimes you have to go away and come alone with me and get into the sunshine. Escape that fog, escape all those circumstances, and actually literally make a move. Go on a weekend with your wife. If you're in business, take a day off. I had one of my business coaches in life said, John, just get a motel room and just stay in the motel room for a day or two, just to be writing some things down. And so escape. When I was in business earlier in life, I was working in publishing with many people who became very busy, and I told them, when you're too busy to stop and think, that's when you're supposed to stop and think. So some of you are scrambling, thinking, what do I do next, God? Now what do I do? Now I've got to try this. And you're so busy. Some of you perhaps have forgotten to take the time to refresh your love with your spouse. So do that. Others of you might be in the fog in business where you're just so busy that you haven't been able to stop and think. I want to encourage you in the same way that Greg and I were talking together. Stop. get out of the fog, get into the sunshine, go someplace, whether you take a hotel room for a weekend, whether it's alone, whether it's a couple members of your staff in business, whether it's with your spouse. Renew your love relationship with your spouse. Renew your love relationship with the Lord. Very often that can be put a little on the shelf as you're scrambling and worrying and thinking of so much. Stop and be. Greg was talking to me about that even in his own life, how it's so important for him right now just to be.
Yeah, to learn to rest,
just
to the
to
rest of the Lord. You know?
In all of the, and he's got some major decisions coming up in his life. But before he can make those, his main heart is, I want to stop and rest in the Lord, so he can really hear and walk in freshness. So that's our word to you from Greg and John today. Stop, rest, get refreshed, renew your relationship with your spouse, and in business, and in your creativity, and of course with our loving Father. And speaking of rest, one great way to be refreshed and rest and to hear new things from God and some things that can give you creative input and ideas for your business is to come to what we call the Destiny Weekend. We have a Business Destiny Weekend, June 25th and 26th here at Morning Star. We've done this before, and God has shown up, and people's lives have been changed.
Oh, that's incredible.
And at every conference that happens. So if you want new insight for your business, if you want creative ideas, we start at like 6 o'clock on a Friday night, June 25th, with a banquet, followed by 2 sessions. Saturday we will have 4 powerful seminars geared specifically for you in business and how to make your business better, how to have creative strategies, God strategies in your business. If you want a quick shot in the arm that will really help you, this will be it. It's the Business Destiny Weekend, June 25th and 26th. And you can find out more about that by going on our kbabiz.com website, or to make a reservation, it's 1-877-446-3836, 1-877-446-3836. You can register for the weekend, and if you're staying at the hotel, you can also make a hotel reservation. Check that out. This could be a very significant time in your life, but God wants you to rest and be refreshed, to hear from Him.